working?
Yeah, it looks like everything is going out.
Okay, fantastic. It looks like we have Augustus Rise in the chat rooms, some people watching. So the goal of this show, the Tattoo Weekly, the weekly tattoo, I'm not exactly sure. We'll figure it out by the next week. But we will be checking out a lot of the highlights from previous shows through the Reinventing the Tattoo Network and the Fireside Tattoo Network and Tattoo Now. And then talk about some of the upcoming shows that we'll be going to, both in the real world and some more virtual events. We've got all sorts of fun things going on. And let's see, we'll talk about some sponsors. What else are we going to be doing on this? We didn't rehearse. This is our pilot, so this is completely unrehearsed.
Why don't we ask our first viewers whether we should call it the Tattoo Weekly or the Weekly Tattoo?
Yes. Although I think ultimately it's GoDaddy that is going to be the ultimate decider, right?
Yeah, but they can't change what we actually call it out loud.
Oh, that's right. And actually, I guess we could just I'm sure we could get either domain name as long as we get it registered really quickly. But so okay, so let's see. So after we do our introduction, which I just did the quick one, we didn't plug any of our sponsors or anything, but that's okay. We will next show. We should do the trio of introductions. So we'll go around and we'll introduce ourselves, and then we will have one frequently asked question that we could start off with. And I think that we can figure that out after we introduce ourselves. So
yeah. Sweet. Lauren goes first.
Yeah, cool. Hey everybody, I'm Lauren. I actually live in Wisconsin. I've got 2 kids, and been in the pigment manufacturing realm for almost a decade. So that has been pretty fun. I'm with Raw Pigments, and I also manage a guy at Reinventing. So some of the stuff that I'm really interested in is talking to artists, kind of version of good when you can interact with people still through a computer. I'm kind of nerdy, so I get along with Gabe pretty well in terms of geeky stuff. I will be traveling soon, so I'm excited to hit the road again after a year off. So yeah, looking forward to kind of showing you guys some current events that I like, that connecting in a whole new way. So yeah, happy to be here.
Sweet. I'm Jake Meeks. I run the Fireside Tattoo Network, and we've been kind of partnering up with Reinventing the Tattoo and Tattoo Now on and off for the last, maybe 6 months or so. And we're like-minded groups of people. We're all interested in tattoo education and creating valuable content that's, good for tattooing, I guess, for lack of a better term. Something that we think is healthy for the industry, the craft. And since we're so like-minded, we've kind of collaborated on a few different projects, and this is one. And Fireside has been around for about 8 years now. We do a podcast, the Fireside Tattoo Podcast, typically comes out each week, as well as Fireside Technique and our newest series, 3 Minutes to Better Tattooing, which is mainly drawing focused and just little nuggets that we hope will help tattooers become better problem solvers in there and improve their work. And this should be fun. I'm looking forward to, one thing that I'm looking forward to about this, the Tattoo Weekly, is that I think it'll hold me personally a little more accountable for making sure that I'm on task and have something coming up each week, because I'm going to have to get on here with you guys and talk about what I'm doing the next week, which means I have to have something to do the next week. So.
Awesome. Sweet. Let's see. I'm Gabe from Tattoo Now. I've been doing technology and computer shit for tattooers for like 25 years, since the mid-90s. I don't know if this will get into focus or not. But I am, as Lauren said, I'm very computer geeky. So I've been, doing websites and webinars and stuff via Tattoo Now for a long time. And then Reinventing the Tattoo is probably my main client. As you can see, it's kind of going in the background here and working with guys, inspirational and amazing, and it helps me work with a whole wild, crazy community of tattooers. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of go through the highlights, to go through all this stuff. It's and have the variety segments. We've had shows like this in the past, and people dig them, and they're very fun to do. And as Jake said, it means that we will have to have our next week's schedule completely solid for our Sunday night shows. And and then it'll be fun because we'll be done with this on Sunday nights, presuming we stick it on Sunday nights, and then we'll be doing the drawing groups first thing 9 o'clock in the morning on Mondays. So
That's right.
no rest for the wicked.
Yeah.
Okay, and Augustus Rice says, thanks for the caring and about the sharing of the knowledge. Michigan Woodsman says they don't care, honestly, whether it's the weekly tattoo or the tattoo weekly, but awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's start off with...
I'm with them. I don't really care either.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. Let's start off with like a frequently asked question for tattooing, and I suppose the... I don't know, unless do you guys want to come up with one real quick, or should we just do tattoos hurt?
I thought you had one. Let's do
I
yours.
was just gonna run with do tattoos hurt. The very first episode deserves the very first entry level question potentially.
That's right. And then we're supposed to answer this individually.
Yeah, and I could start off by saying, yeah, kind of. I mean, they really start to hurt at hour 4 or 5 or 6. Day 3 is fucking intolerable. Everything else is, it is. I don't know.
I'm curious what our...
spoke with Emily Paul recently on the Tattoo Collecting podcast, which is a highlight I wanted to share with you guys here soon. But she actually was talking about mental fortitude, and it's not all about the pain when it comes to tattooing; it's just a part of the process. So it isn't how you want to approach that one, I suppose, because does it? But can you handle it? Well, yeah. So it if you want to get depends on where your journey is taking you. But anyway, Emily Paul had told us about the 100-mile marathon she ran in 27 hours. So it's super interesting, take things from the tattooer's perspective on, increasing mental fortitude to sit through something like that or go the distance, I suppose. And that happened in Long Island, which was pretty interesting, if you guys haven't heard about that.
No, it's crazy. Or sounds crazy. I do like that attitude. Some of the podcasters, a lot of the special forces people will be like, when you think you're done, you're only 40% of the way done.
Yeah, I think these days, especially, it has a lot to do with the artist who's tattooing you. I think that we've turned a corner in how we approach tattooing from the standpoint of like well, Gabe, when you ran off the map tattoo for a long time, and it had more of a salon type feel whenever I was there. Like there was someone walking around with water and snacks and things like that, and it was a more comforting kind of environment. I personally kind of create the same thing in my studio, so I try to keep people comfortable the entire time. That's with topicals like Bactine, and then also just having something to occupy their time, like Netflix or whatever they want to watch or listen to. So there's a lot more opportunity for like distraction and a lot more kind of bedside manner available today. Now that said, there are plenty of tattooers that still think that you need to earn your tattoos, and we've had episodes on that in years past. It's just a difference in mindset. I personally, I want people to come back, and I want them to remember the experience as a pleasant one, so that they're more eager to come back the next time. So.
Oh yeah. Well, and the two aren't mutually exclusive. Guy in particular, it's a pilgrimage to get there. He's definitely not getting any walk-ins if his clients tap out. So he takes particular care. Pretty much it seems like every tattoo he's thinking about what could he do to make it more comfortable, both for himself, in the long haul, but as well as his client. And but ultimately that means he's like, can you do 3 days? You still earn your tattoo. Just because a tattooer is taking particular care to make the client comfortable, doesn't mean that tattoo is going to be easy necessarily. It just means that you end up pushing it in different directions, or farther as the tattoo, as opposed to just getting brutalized. And different people do it different ways, but definitely there's a lot of the master tattooers, it seems, take a particular care for the comfort of their client. Basically, gets more out of the tattoo.
Right. Do our viewers have any opinions on that?
I guess we'll find out. We are only going off on the one channel, so we've got 4 or 5 people, watching still, which is pretty cool. Yeah. But okay, well that was our frequently asked question. So yeah, so if you have any comments on do tattoos hurt, or any other future frequently asked questions you might want us to answer for you, then yeah, I guess you should be leaving them in the comment section and we'll find them. And then yeah, I guess we're moving on to the next section. Lauren, I don't know if you have the script in front of you, but what's coming up next?
Yeah, we actually highlights that Jake had picked out from the Fireside, I suppose you could say, or upcoming events. So he had picked out 3 that we have kind of loaded up and ready to go. So Jake,
well, I'll hop in the background here and turn my camera off.
Okay.
And
all right, so we're learning this live. So my camera stays on right now. Is that correct?
Sure.
All right. I don't know which.
So what would you like?
Let's start with our previous episode, which was our most recent 3 minutes to better tattooing. It was all about voltage versus amps, and more specifically the available continuous amps that your power supply can provide to your tattoo machine. And this was a really interesting episode. If you haven't seen it yet, it's been out for about a week and a half or so now, and I just stumbled into a cool little experiment where I used 2 different power supplies for one tattoo and had really strikingly different results. One that provided 3 continuous amps, no, maybe less than that, I might be wrong, and the one that provided 5 continuous amps. And I wasn't really doing it as a power supply comparison by brand or anything like that, but more just as kind of an illustration of why amperage is important in tattooing. So if you want to roll that episode, I'll drop into the background. Or teaser, not episode, I guess I should say.
So voltage measures the potential or the force, and amperage measures the actual flow of electricity, and it's determined by the device. Let's move that over into tattoo terms. All right, so just for context, here is a fresh image of the first pass of the tattoo that I noticed this issue with. So you can see it's a very kind of balanced, positive, negative, stylized, full chest piece that's going to have that kind of peppered shading all the way through it. And we'll do it over a couple of passes so that it's more rendered, but it's still meant to have that kind of graphic, stylized look. And here is the healed footage of the same tattoo, about a month settled in. Like I said, this is just the first pass and it will be rendered further, but just take a look at the quality of the dots, of the marks, and pay attention to where you can see individual textures and dot work and where you can't, and that'll tell you where I was using which power supply.
So that was a little teaser from that last episode. And if you haven't watched that one already, it was pretty interesting. I've gotten a lot of feedback from it already. I feel like that there are a ton of opinions out there, and so if you do watch the episode, definitely take some time and go through the comments, which there are hundreds of them at this point. I think it was something that really struck a chord with a lot of people, and you'll find that people come from all over the place when it comes to how important they think
all those 3-minute episodes, really awesome. As soon as you came up with them a couple of weeks, I don't know, it was a year or 2 ago, it was like, those are going to be freaking sick.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was a good one. I was excited to put it together, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback. So if you haven't seen that one yet, that's something that we've done most recently, and I hope you'll check it out. Do we want to roll the next one, or are we doing these one at a time? What's our format here?
Yeah,
go right into the next one.
Okay. I'll do the next thing I'll do is our upcoming episode that'll be out this coming Wednesday, and it's just a regular podcast episode, an interview podcast with Amy from the Apprentice Diary. She's been working with you guys a little bit as well, and I'll turn my camera off here real quick. Amy is has a new podcast that's focused on mentorship, apprenticeships, things like that, and so we sat down to talk a little bit about her ideas on mentorship.
I feel like it was a lot easier to have something regimented when the tools were a little bit more streamlined. Like you know, you had a tattoo machine and it wasn't a rotary, and it cartridges, and you didn't have all these like wonderful options that you could use. You had two tattoo machines, a shader and a liner, and that is a lot of how you were coached to kind of piece your tattoos and stuff too, was based on that. And there was a whole, you know, autoclave process that was a part of our upbringing. Even before that, I mean, I've only seen it done once, of making needles.
Yeah.
People made their own needles and soldered them, and you know, you had metal tubes, and there was a whole scrubbing regiment to it. So I think that there was a lot more humility built into doing it prior, whereas now the tools are so varied. You know, and it's not for me to say, because I feel like it depends on how much independency you want in the industry, how much clout you actually want to garnish to your experience, of whether or not, you know, you can talk to somebody like you or me and actually hold their ear and their interest. If you don't have humility about like their experience in the tattoo industry, you're probably not going to have their time or attention.
That's for our upcoming next Wednesday, and we really kind of meandered with that episode. It went all over the place. It was meant to be focused on her thoughts on mentorship, apprenticeships, and that kind of relationship, and the things that she's learned by interviewing mentors of all kinds, not just in tattooing. But that was a really interesting episode. Looking forward to that coming out and getting some feedback.
Yeah, and she's working on an event. Kirsten from the Reinventing community for apprentices. Did you guys talk about that at all?
We very, very briefly. Yeah, she just mentioned it, but I didn't know anything about it at the time, or I would have dove a little deeper into it.
Yeah, that'll be happening on Tuesday, 29th.
Yeah, Tuesday the 29th. And so they're basically going to be presenting strategies for artists who are interested in landing apprenticeships, things that they could do to make their portfolios better, to make their presentations better, to have more proper attitudes. You know, obviously they can't guarantee anybody an apprenticeship or anything, but they do have great tips, you know, on how to, you know, prepare for it. And I believe they'll be doing like critiques and stuff. So if there's any apprentices, apprentice wannabes, wait, no, what did they say? Future apprentice hopefuls? I don't know. Wannabe is probably not the right term, but anyways, it's that'll be a pretty awesome. Should be a pretty awesome event that's happening. Yeah, this Tuesday. Cool.
Sweet. I've got one last video, and I thought what I would do here, this is something I hope to do going forward. I feel like a lot of times, because of the amount of content that Fireside has put out over the years, some of my favorite interviews or favorite episodes are sometimes get kind of blown over, and so they don't land right. Maybe I don't title them well, or maybe the thumbnails aren't great or whatever, but I feel like some of them have kind of been passed over, and there are a lot of great little nuggets. And so here's one from last year with James Hall. He's a tattooer out of Austin, Texas, and this was right in the heart of the pandemic, and he was spending a ton of time painting each day. And so we started talking about some of the things that he was pulling from painting into tattooing. So kind of a way to get a very painterly approach in your tattoos. So he talks just a little bit about his process in this little clip.
I learned to tattoo in kind of a weird way, where I start with the midtones first, and then go into your darker colors and your shadows, and then your kind of your highlights or your upper midtones into that. So because I work with the midtones first, I'll saturate a whole area, and really easy to just lay those darker colors, especially concentrates, on that and just blend them out to nothing. And then you hit that mid, with kind of like a fleshy tone or an opaque color, and it just washes right out, and all of a sudden it looks kind of painterly. Whereas 90%, or not 90, but at least 75% of that tattoo was done pretty traditionally if you remove that lost edge.
So episode, I don't remember really offhand what type of attention it actually got, but I don't think that it got the attention that I thought it deserved. So if you haven't watched that episode from last year, I assume we're linking to all of these in this show, but if not, I can provide a link myself, some other way, whatever we see fit going forward with this.
Yeah, we'll have to get them in the description. Ideally, we get them in the cards so we can be like, click the link over there to go straight to that video.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
After our live stream. Yeah.
After the live stream, exactly. You can't do that while it's happening. You're nice. You have like minute long, 2 minute long clips. I made 2 like 4 or 5 minute long clips for my features. But so maybe Lauren, do we want to maybe how long are your clips, Lauren? Out of curiosity. Control, Lauren, control. Uh-oh.
We lost.
I have them loaded right now in the browser, so you might have me beat at 5 minutes.
Okay, well, how about that? Why don't we go into some of the Tattoo Now videos then, I guess? So that way you have a little bit of time. This is the pilot, but we have more viewers on now than we did when we started. Okay, so let's see. So these are some of the videos, and I admit that last week when we were about to run this pilot, I was like, oh, quick, find some stuff that's on my hard drive. Some of these are pretty cool. And I am pretty excited that there's so many things being streamed out on Reinventing that there's at least 1 or 2 full awesome videos that I have nothing to do with that I need to catch up with on. But anyways, so these are the some interviews that I was able to either host or be the technical host for. The first one is a World Tattoo update from India, and Lokesh, who's a tattooer friend of mine from a couple of years ago. He did some guest spots at the shop and over here, and then over in Italy, and I think he hit some of the conventions too. Lokesh, he's an awesome tattooer from India, and yeah, this is maybe from like 2 months ago. It was really kind of as things in the COVID were really hitting pretty hard over there, and it is good to know that it's eased up a little bit, but it is also amazing to be able to catch up with people from all around the world. It's crazy. Like people might look down on tattooing or whatever, but it really does afford us these connections, these worldwide connections. So it's amazing to be able to beam in and figure out what's going on straight from tattooers in that country. So yeah, maybe if you want to fire up the.
Yeah.
There we go. Cool. Let me get myself out here. Together this panel in a very short moment, and maybe if you want to introduce yourself first. And as so the fellow who put together the panel, maybe if you could, and then introduce them a little bit, they could talk about themselves. And yeah, I'll hop in the background here. So I'll pop in with questions and whatnot. And but this is it's going to be fun to hear everyone's stories here.
Yeah. So hi everyone, this is Lokesh Verma, Devil's Tattoos, New Delhi, India, and I've been tattooing since 2003. Mostly do realism, and nowadays only colored realism and only portraits, to be very specific. So yeah, that's what I do. You can check out my work. Maybe Gabe will give a link.
Yeah, we'll do a quick introductions first, and then we'll dive in a little bit of stories, and then it gives me a little bit of time to run their portfolios. So who wants to go next? Sometimes we introduce people in an orderly manner, and sometimes we go anarchist style, let everybody jump in.
Okay, so I'll jump in that case. So guys, hi, this is Namaste from India, and this is Samir Patange. And I've been tattooing since 2000. I started training in the year 1998, and 2 years post that I started tattooing. So yeah, I run my studio in a called Crayons Tattoo Studio, which is located out of Mumbai. So I'll be glad if you guys check out our work and let us know how you like it. Okay, next. Over to you.
I'm Shamli. I live in Delhi, and I've been working as a tattoo artist for about 10 years now. I trained under, he's the one who mentored me, and I still work with him and with his studio, so that's pretty great. That's about it. Our studio. Yeah.
Hi everyone. I'm Rishabh. I have a studio by the name Immortal Tattoos. I've been tattooing for about 11 years now, and you can find my work on Instagram, Facebook by the name Immortal Rishabh or Immortal Tattoos.
Awesome. So I do have everyone's pictures lined up, and it seems it's pretty cool. Everyone's got a different style, or at least a unique signature. So maybe we'll start with Lokesh. If you want to let us know kind of how you approach reaching out to your perfect clientele, what kind of tattoos you like to do, and then as I show your tattoos in the background, maybe if you can make some comments on particular ones if you feel moved to. But here, let me fire up your tattoos here. Okay, I'm pretty sure you sent over the. I'm trying to make sure. I'm kind of shooting in the dark here. This is
Yeah, that's
this is yours.
Yeah,
Perfect. Okay, hold on. I'm going to start it off with you being spotlighted. Okay.
Yeah, so as I told you that I mostly do realism and now colored realism and specifically colored portraits nowadays, and that's what I want to specialize in. That's because when I started tattooing in 2003, Bob Terrell was huge. He was probably one of the only guys doing portraits at that time in black and gray, but yeah, he was one of the guys who inspired me to do portraits, and Paul Booth was another inspiration for dark arts. I do some of the skulls and all these little dark art also. So these two are my biggest inspirations, and slowly I moved to color because at that time no one in India was doing colors. So I, jumped right into it and fell in love with it. The one challenge that we find in India is the skin tone varies from all shades of skin tones that you can find. So it's particularly challenging to be a tattoo artist doing only colored portraits in India. But then I try to overcome and try to find new ways to my art. And one trick which I would like to tell everyone when you do colored portraits or realism in general is that the biggest mistake I made in the first few years of my life is like I used to replicate whatever I used to see, but I think the biggest rule in realism is don't exactly do what you see. You need to exaggerate and bump up the contrast a little bit to suit the skin tone, and that's what I try to do. So I don't try to make it exactly as a picture, but I try to make it a little more with a little more contrast, so it stays sharper, darker, with high contrast for longer years. And this one is on Shamli, this Frida portrait I did. I think we did it in 2 sessions, total of approximately. First session was 6 to 7 hours. Second session was small, 2 or 3 hours background. Yeah. So
that's awesome. Oh, am I back? Oh, here we go. So it was pretty amazing to catch up with so many amazing Indian tattooers. There's a couple of convention promoters there. The full interview is available on the Reinventing the Tattoo podcast. And so it's definitely worth checking that out. And Jake, you have some of the Indian fellas on Monday mornings.
Group. Yeah, I was surprised when that first started happening. There's one, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but there's one guy that's been coming on pretty regularly in our morning drawing groups from India who is, Akshay, that's right. He's really skilled. I mean, his sketchbook looks great. He's thoughtful. He's tackling a couple of really big cover-ups right now. That's been one of the fun things about the Monday morning group for me is that people are coming in with projects that they have upcoming and they're sharing, and we're all kind of brainstorming on those projects. And then the next week, the next Monday, maybe they've started that piece and they have a new set of problems related to it. So that's been really cool. Those pieces were really nice. And that guy, I'll forget his name already, but I appreciate him mentioning what a challenge it is to find skin tones to do color realism on, and regardless of where you live, India, US, anywhere in between, that is one of the challenges with color realism is the limitations of the complexion that you can actually work on and be effective.
Oh yeah, my wife and kids sometimes make fun of me whenever I see somebody with pale white skin. I'm like, oh, look at this skin. I was at a restaurant like a week ago, and there was this woman there, and it was like the inside of her forearm, so like you couldn't quite see it. You could see a little bit on the outside, but it it looked like a really sweet tattoo. And I'm as you can imagine, I'm pretty like discerning about tattoos, and I definitely don't like to talk to people. So like I'm definitely not looking for excuses to like talk to strangers. And but I saw her a couple of times as I was walking back and forth, and I guess you reminded me like she had just like the palest of skin, and she had shorts and like a tank top on, but she only had this one tattoo, and it was on the inside of her forearm, so I was getting glimpses of it, and I'm like, that looks like maybe like a Rembrandt tattoo. It looks like a fucking sick ass tattoo, and I couldn't help it as I was like putting dishes away or whatever, or busting the table. I was like, "Can I see your tattoo?" And she's like, "Sure, here you go." And I was like, "This is fucking unbelievable. Who the fuck did this tattoo?" And she's like, "Matteo Pascalin." I'm like, "Okay, well that makes sense. How did he do the tattoo?" And she's like, "Oh, we did it a couple years ago, at Off the Map at the shop." I was like, and then because of the history of that, I like mumbled some words. I fucking grumbled a little bit and fucking walked away. Complimented her on the tattoo, but like the skin tone, it was just an amazing tattoo. But on the other hand, we've been doing so many different shows with people that are tattooing all different color skin types, and the guy's got a couple different interviews. I think Killian Moon was one that was on recently, and but yeah, anyways,
He's great. He's great. We had Killian on a year or two ago on Fireside, and I really I liked him. He's a great guy, really great tattooer, and it was a unique interview. That might be one that I'll put in as one of our archive shows coming up, because that's another one that I don't believe got the attention that it deserved.
Oh.
So,
yeah, and it's definitely cool to see the like the dark body art, dark skin body art. I think there's a couple Instagrams that are pretty awesome, and just the like what you could actually do. And there's so many silly myths about dark skin tattooing that it is awesome to again, just as everything's kind of opening up and the communications are getting easier and easier for all that. But so yeah, let's see. So moving back to the that I have, it's with Jesse Smith. And I know that actually Jake has an awesome interview with Jesse, probably a couple maybe at this point, but at least one in particular. Him and Jesse Smith and Rember both have really awesome takes on tattoo shops, and they have these really awesome like artist-driven studios where people are serious, and they take their job seriously. I mean, not too seriously. It's Loose Screw Tattoo, and and if you know Jesse and his April Fool's jokes, they're somewhat legendary. He's going to have to be very careful. Someday someone's going to pull a really good one on him. Anyways, this is a clip with Jesse Smith talking about, I believe, the different types of shops that he's worked at and the environment that he's trying to create at Loose Screw Tattoo, because, well, he's always looking for awesome artists. So, yeah, let's check out this clip.
There's a very between shops. You have your, quote unquote pirate shops per se, where, stuff goes under the table and everybody's kind of doing whatever they want to do. That is what I would consider kind of like a full blown pirate shop. And then you've got your super corporate shops, which are, typically owned by like some rock star that wanted an investment. And then he opens up a shop and it's ran by a bunch of, Hot Topic kids or something like that. So, you have those two different angles, and it's like, how do you ride that balance between the two? Because as an artist, we don't want to work in a corporate environment. That's one of the cool things about being a tattoo artist and being an artist in general, is to kind of work in a place where you can be free to express yourself. But on the same note, we are serving the public, and it's our responsibility to provide the public with, at least showing up on time, having your artwork ready, all that stuff. And then, as a shop owner, everyone in my shop represents me. You don't know how many bad reviews I have on Google that from people who don't even work at my shop anymore, and that it doesn't follow them to the next shop. It just stays on my feed. So, but yeah, I think there's pros and cons. It's kind of like, I always use the example of, if you go into Target and you get mistreated by one of the employees there, or you aren't happy with one of the products you buy there, most of the time, because it's such a big corporation, they're going to look out for you first as a customer. And then, if you go into a mom and pop place, you might get a little more intimate situation and it might be more personable. But if for whatever reason you're not happy with your product, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a refund. There's a lot of lot of variables involved on what you might get out of that situation. So, like I said, it's kind of like, what I would like to run is something that is a place where artists know that they have a safe environment to work, and know that there's going to be there's going to be clients coming through the door consistently. Their job is sound, where they don't have to worry about losing it. And then of course they've got, the medical, the dental, all things that kind of stabilize their lives a little bit in case something bad happens. And then also on the art side is just having people in there that are motivated and are interested and eager in learning and just inspiring. When I opened my shop, I felt like it just kind of gave me a whole new kind of slingshot into being more motivated, because I had all these artists looking up to me, and I was like, man, I got to keep on crunching. Whereas before, when I was working at other people's shops, I was having to motivate myself to do better. So I don't know if that particularly answers your question, but hopefully I touched on some of this stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, maybe, and that leads into maybe the next one. So, as a shop owner now, and in it for a while, so you've seen a significant amount of artists, as you're saying. Some have come and stayed for an exceptionally long period of time, and some come and go. And but what is it that you are now looking for, right? So if you have, obviously there's a wide variety of awesome different love to have work in the shop. But what are some of the people that you've or characteristics that you're looking for that you find that are most successful, in the environment that you're looking there?
I think the people that I'm most attracted to are the people who really love art and really love what they do. I've been told by some of the artists who have left my shop in the past that my shop was, not as fun as other shops that they've been at. And I remember thinking in my head, I'm like, well, yeah, I guess if you're not into art, my shop's probably not that fun. If you're into like partying and stuff like that, my shop is not the place for you. But if you're into art, my shop's a great place to be. We do art days on Wednesdays, where we sit down, tutorials, and watch movies and sit there and draw together. We have guest artists who come in and teach classes. We're just constantly doing art stuff. I mean, that's really what's kind of gotten me where I am today. Is I just absolutely love art, and everything I've done is just revolves around art, and then trying to figure out how to help people make money off of their art consistently. Not just sitting here making it right now and then tomorrow it's all gone and they have nothing to show for it.
I really appreciate Jesse Smith's just attitude. And again, he wants to make sure that people can really get the most out of their art and make a living at it, right? But keeping the spirit and the essence of the art alive, right? And anyways, Jesse's awesome, and I really appreciate his attitude, the way he goes about things. He runs the Richmond Tattoo Convention these days, or he's a partner with Kenny Brown. And I've always been excited to get down there. He's got the Richmond Arts Academy. And again, ultimately, as he was saying, if you're into art, if you're into learning, if you're into, the spirit of tattooing, check out Loose Screw Tattoo. He's always looking for new artists, guest artists and residents and whatnot. So Jake, you caught up with Jesse a couple times. How did you find him as a tattooer?
Well, he's an incredible tattooer. I mean, one of the great new school tattooers ever. And he's also one of my favorite people to interview because he's, he obviously, what you just heard right there, he can kind of carry a conversation, which I love as someone who asks questions. But he also is just such a driven guy. And he's really kind of a little bit of a unicorn because it's rare that you find someone that runs, like you said, he runs one of the oldest tattoo conventions in the country, the Richmond show. He runs a really fantastic shop at Loose Screw, and that's a beautiful, setting and all of that. And then he also does that Giving Arts Foundation, I think is what it's called. and then a clothing brand, and then also is an awesome artist. Normally, you don't get awesome artist with all those other things. You get all those
No.
other things, and then just some dude that's been tattooing for 30 years, and he looks like a guy that's been tattooing for 30 years. You know what I mean?
Sure,
It's
sure.
it's rare that you find someone that's at his level artistically and still does all that other stuff. In fact, I mean, you named a couple, I guess. I mean, Rimber is awesome and runs an epic shop, but I think that's all Rimber does is runs the shop and tattoos.
No,
Is
yeah.
that right? Yeah,
Yeah,
but
he doesn't do the conventions or the stores or.
yeah, Jesse does so much stuff, and yeah, he's one of my favorite people to interview. I haven't watched that episode yet, but I will. Where do I find that?
That will be. It's on the Reinventing the Tattoo podcast. It's on the Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel. Isn't this pretty sick? Like, I mean, I'm just rewatching that. I'm like, man, I love this. It's like I'm reliving the highlights of what you've got, what we've got. I'm excited to see what Lauren's got because I'm now after 10 minutes. I'm sure there's time. I do want to share my screen, and I'm pretty excited about this last project. It is. Reinventing247.com, right? So we have like all of these shows, and it's crazy to try to figure out like all the stuff that's going on. And I mean, and I do a lot of the technical hosting, right? So a couple times a week, I'm like, go to the library, and there's like 5 new replays that are anywhere between 1 and 3 hours every week. If you're not quite sure like where to go or what to see, if you just go to reinventing247.com, then it brings you over here, and we basically have all these different shows that are playing. So this is an interview with Phip Buchanan. Adriana, the tattoo journalist, did an awesome interview with Phip. So we've got Reinventing Drawing Group with Jake Meeks. This is going on here. So you could just kind of flip in between these different shows. It's taking a little bit of time to load up, but this is one of your drawing groups that you do on Monday mornings, replayed. We've got the Tattoo Collecting Podcast. We have the Spanish channel, the Spanish Tattoo channel. And yeah, basically, if you just ever want to have some tattoo show inspiration, if you go to reinventingthetattoo.com /247 or reinventing247.com, then yeah, at this point we have 4 channels at any given time going, but we will be, expanding that out a little bit and getting up on the Roku and shit. It's pretty sick.
Super cool. I was actually, I had someone recently. We were talking about my website, the Fireside website, and he was like, he said I was on, I don't know, Netflix or Hulu or something recently, and he was like, you should really just do your website like a Hulu channel or like a Netflix, where you can just everything by categories. Like they spent billions in research figuring out that was the platform or like the interface that worked. So you may as well just use it. And in a way, that's kind of what you're doing right there with Reinventing 247.
Yeah, and some of the technologies that I'm looking at, they're like, well, why don't you charge? And I'm like, well, we charge for other things. Like, why are you scared of charging? I'm like, no, we're not scared of charging. Like, guys got a whole thing that we sell. Like, this is the free network, sponsored by artists or sponsored by like companies and stuff. Like, there's people that are spending money to make this stuff free. Like, we want to get it out to as many eyeballs as possible. And they're like, why are you scared of selling stuff? I'm like, no, I'm not on your script. We want to sell stuff. This just happens to be a project designed to sell other shit, not this stuff. Anyways, it's pretty cool. And there's we don't need to talk too much about some of these opportunities. Because hopefully we just keep contributing to the tattoo scene, and people keep digging it, and that little setup there is pretty sweet, and I'm hoping that we keep watering it and it'll grow.
Right. Lauren, is your stuff ready?
Yeah, I actually brought up something that happened last week. There was a big committee conference by the AFDO here in the United States.
So sorry, real quick, Lauren, could you like put the mic closer or try to get yourself just a little bit louder?
Yeah, how about now, you guys?
Perfect, much better.
Cool. So I was gonna bring up to everybody last week. I was in a really interesting conference. It's usually an in-person conference by the AFDO. So one of the topics of discussion was what's happening in Europe, and as a pigment manufacturer, it's extremely high on the list aware with the petition that was passed to ban green. Well, anyway, last Wednesday I attended a conference where a dermatologist who's been studying this since 2008 came on, and basically I'll let you guys hear a little bit from him in his story, but just groundbreaking kind of evidence that he presented, his perspective and stuff like that. So we'll hear from him now.
Well, I will then start my presentation. I have roughly half an hour, and I should go through the European situation in different aspects. The regulatory situation, but of course also the research. I enjoyed really the speaker conference. It was very sophisticated. That our study on mice, on black mice, were noted and were referred to, and the curves were shown in his presentation. We did the studies with the black tattoos exposed to sun and showed that this could reduce the cancers. But I will go through Europe and speak about where the magnitude of the as we see it manifested. And the problem do we notice? The enormous knowledge gap, the situation of ink manufacturers and distributors, the tattooist and the consumer demand, the analytical work of the European Union Joint Research Center, Carsten Bruns also referred to that. The EU REACH regulation, which is the new regulation, which will start from February 22. The uncovered fields in that regulation, and my final point will be facing a disaster, US copy. So please note this, where we really end that we are in a mess in Europe. And there are several reasons. I will go through that. First, where do we come from with the tattoos in Europe? I have some small, you cannot read it. Well, we came from national regulations, and like you, United States, you have many states. We have also many nations in Europe, and each with their little regulation, and the regulations did not match in the past. It has been for a long time. There was an idea in 2003 to harmonize it in the EU, but it was given up because it was recognized that of knowledge which is huge. In 2008, the European Council, which is not the same as the Union, came out with a guideline on tattoo inks, which is called the RESAP 2008. It introduced a regulation of different carcinogenic compounds in inks, and it was used by 8 of the 28 European countries. So it was not really accepted, but it after all influenced the discussion quite a lot. Now I will turn to the magnitude of the problem of the tattoo complications as we see it, because we have, of course, our health sector, and we receive any kind of disease which show up in the society, corona or HIV or whatever it will come up spontaneously, and the system, the health system, the doctors, the researchers, the clinical researchers will depict any problem which comes up. All the diagnoses we operated with did not come from toxicologists or people with theoretical backgrounds. They came from the clinic and from clinical observation, starting with case studies. And many people are tattooed in Europe, about 70 million, and worldwide it is about 600. So you can imagine that with so many people tattooed, this should generate case reports. It should generate clinical records coming up in the literature if there is a problem, and it already has demonstrated that we have problems with allergy, etc. But the point is, from that literature, and it has been searched by different means, also published in the study, we cannot trace any relationship between tattooing and cancers, and not any relationship between tattoos and birth defects, abortions, etc. And there was even done a study in France on that, and they could not find any increased risk in tattooed women.
All right, so that is actually a 30-minute interview with him. So if you guys are still here and listening, that was very powerful to be a part of, and watch that video, and they were in attendance. So his main message was kind of like a warning to the United States manufacturers mistakes, because there really is no evidence or case studies, like he's saying, which there would be, to prove that it really is to the level that they're saying. So I do hope that the regulatory forces that are looking into such things in the United States heard him loud and clear, that there would have to be some very, very strong seen across the world with hundreds of millions of tests. Very interesting, and wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. That was great. Yeah. Who else? Real quickly, who else? Was anyone else in that on that episode, or was it just with him with that interview?
Oh, there was actually a full day. So there was other speakers that were Jake and I kind of touched on the future of voices as tattooing. So in one of the studies that they had done on black mice, they realized that the tattoo pigment acts as a protectant from such skin cancers. So they're looking into biosensing tattoo inks that could be applied as some type of sunscreen, all sorts of stuff. Tattoos sense UV light, but that would be a medical device by the FDA. It's completely different from the using.
It's like sci-fi.
Very interesting future that people are really going into. Carson is a PhD in Denver or somewhere in Colorado, and is very, very eager to work with artists. I can drop his information as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Fuck yeah.
Right.
Do you have another clip, Lauren, or is it time to go to the next segment?
I don't load it right now. I was getting your guys' stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was figuring we're at just about 52 minutes. One of the things that maybe we should wrap up with, or maybe not every time, but it would be good to talk about all of the upcoming conventions, maybe in events. At different times, we've all been like, hey, I'm going to a bunch of events. You're like, I'm going to a bunch of events. You're like, I'm going to a bunch of events. We're like, we all go to the same events, and I'm sure that everybody that's watching, I'm not sure that everyone that was watching, it'd be presumptuous to think that everyone who was watching would want to go to the events that we're going to. But part of the point of us being here is to tell people about the events that we're going to be at. So if you ever want to talk to us in person, we actually have that opportunity coming up. So yeah, I guess this is a great time for anybody that's in the chat rooms. I mean, again, this is the pilot, so but anyways, there are people there. If you want to let us know if you're going to any events or where you're from, maybe we're doing some events in your area, and then yeah, let's chat about tattoo conventions. And I guess I don't know how to do this because we haven't done this before. But what are the next couple conventions that we're all going to, and we should just start getting our schedules out.
Jake, any for you?
Yeah, I'm basically sticking with Gabe for the rest of this year. Whatever he's putting on. We normally are doing shows, at least every other month with Fireside, leading up to COVID, and then I had committed to a couple late last year that were for the spring of this year, tentatively, and then backed out and didn't actually do them just because I thought it might be a little early, and so we're just kind of dipping our toes back in the water. The next thing that I know of for sure that we're planning to do is the Paradise Artist Retreat in October with Gabe. Next year,
it's a BYOB. There will be
Right.
artists retreating for sure, but it's a BYOB. Sorry.
Perfect. Yeah. Is that just this year? Or is that going forward?
Next year we're going to do the full-on Paradise Tattoo Gathering. So officially it's October 3rd to the 6th. It's a Sunday to a Wednesday, to which most normal people would be like, what the fuck are you doing a show on a Sunday to a Wednesday? But it's not a show. It's like a BYOB. It's like a picnic. And we're registered, to your point, like, we might be able to actually run a tattoo convention, maybe, but like, right now we've got the whole place rented out, the whole ski resort. Anybody that's been to Jimmy Peak knows it and loves it. We'll be able to decorate all the rooms with whatever it is that we want to. We'll have all these video cameras out. We'll be doing podcasts. We'll be doing seminars. We actually have other crafts coming. So I think there's going to be a couple, cannabis growers and suppliers. There's going to be maybe some brewers. It's basically like people that are doing stuff that's interesting and awesome based on the arts. Bob Tyrell's coming. He'll do, some tattooing seminars, and Thea Duskin's coming out to do, watercolory flower seminars. Like, there's definitely going to be like tattoo art stuff and artists showing up. But it is also very much, it's completely a show up if you want and contribute, and if not, stay home, because we are still kind of in an epidemic, or pandemic-y. Like, I don't know. I walk around. I walk around outside. I feel fine, but I'm still a little wary of like too many people in the same room. Anyways,
Yeah.
That's it.
Next,
it's a BYOB.
Yeah. That's our next event, and I'm excited about that. Next year, I assume that we'll kind of get back on the regular convention schedule to some extent. So the conventions that we typically do kind of each year, I love the Hell City conventions. Darabog has always put on a great show, and he's one of the more experienced promoters around. That show always goes off without a hitch, both in Columbus and in Phoenix, and I like both of those. I do a small show basically every year called Space City in Huntsville, Alabama, which is just about a 3-hour drive from me here in Memphis, Tennessee, and that's more of a tight-knit group of tattooers. It's not a lot of big names, but it's really high-level tattooers in some cases. But it's the same people each year, so it's kind of like going to camp. And it's one of my favorite shows. I love Richmond, like we mentioned earlier with Jesse Smith, and I know that's I was able to go to the last one before COVID, and I hope he invites me to the next one, which I guess is not going to be until fall of 22.
Yep.
But that's what I always enjoy. And what I did for the first year last year was actually my last show. It happened as COVID was shutting everything down in March of 2020. Was Matt Stebley's Due South Tattoo Expo down in that was a lot of fun. That's the first time that I've done that one, and I enjoyed it. It was a weird environment because COVID was just getting underway, and it was enough that people were hesitant to come. So it was not a super busy show, which I kind of liked. The aisles weren't packed, and I was able to walk around and talk to people a little bit. But that's kind of a lot of the shows that we do each year, and we'll probably be at those again starting next year. So any viewers who want to swing by and say hello, I would love to meet you guys.
Well, what do you got going on, Lauren? I know that you're about to hit up the circuit pretty hard, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of unexpected because we took so much time off and we've done so many live streaming events. But yeah, we'll be going to Chicago because I live, 3 hours from there for the Villain Art Show with Raw Pigments. I'll be bringing Scoop Spoya with us from Orlando, along with Sophie Savage out of Miami. So we'll be doing that in the middle of July. So the middle of August, we'll be going down to Worldwide Ink doing the Tattoo Collectors Expo in Dallas. So it was brought to you by Alonzo Gonzalez, Sammy Lynn, and Art from Worldwide Ink magazine.
Sammy from Depiction Tattoo.
Yep.
Oh, she's great.
Us at Ink Arts in Northern California. That'll be a show I've never been to. I've been to a lot, but I've never been to that one. I've heard great things. In September is the Golden State Tattoo to meet up with you guys and do a cool reinventing podcast while we're out there. And that is September 17th tonight. I will be joining you guys in Jimmy Peak at the beginning of October. Gabe, looking forward to
Awesome.
that one. Yeah, your first Paradise Gathering I went to in 2014, or the first one that I went to was an amazing experience.
2014 was that Jiminy? That was in Colorado.
Colorado, yeah.
Yeah, cool. That popped up a couple times. Oh, I went down to catch up with Gabriel Cece down in Virginia, and the Rocky Mountain Show came up a couple times. It was someday. That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. It was
That
beautiful.
venue, though, it's amazing when venues can sour the relationship to the point where it's like, I don't ever want to come and make money with you again. That was horrifying.
Yeah. But
But
from,
anyways.
you know, the viewer perspective, I guess, it was a very good
Awesome.
experience.
I should never speak negatively of an event because people do think highly of it, and that's
Yeah.
all it should be thought of.
Yeah, I still have the business cards I collected. But yeah, that
Awesome.
would be in where did I get to the Jimmy
October.
Peak. And then in October we'll also be going to New Zealand to Tattoo Terra, which is in August 30th to November 1st, I believe, or October 30th and 31st. And then in November we'll be making a trip to Brussels, which is a very heartfelt trip for me, and I know a lot of us from Reinventing will be going. Ricardo, Jason, Gabe, Kirsten, Jake. I've asked you if you'd like to join, but that is we're going to be doing
Where-
an industry trade show 2 days before the convention. With the actual convention happening.
I hope to make Brussels work as well. I've been there once before, and I really loved. I really loved it. I've I asked my wife about it because, of course, I can't. I'm not taking a European trip solo, but she's still hesitant about maybe having to wear a mask for like 10 straight hours on a plane. She's like, I don't know if I can handle that. So that might be
Well,
the
the last
determining
time I flew
factor.
to LA, I was pretty really erupted. My thing would be, you know, wearing a mask is one thing, but I was told if you are found to be drinking alcohol, the plane will be immediately grounded and you'll receive a felony.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I actually had to like rub my ears a few times and be like so I'm
What?
gonna fly from.
They said if you were
Allison to
drinking
LA with
alcohol, the plane would be
alcohol?
grounded.
What? So I don't know if that's still standing, but it was pretty.
No, I flew recently, not to LA, but I flew to Virginia just last month, and there were plenty of people drinking. They were serving alcohol, so hopefully that's okay again. We'll see. Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be awesome to meet everybody. I know that David said Nick Baxter will be going. Ivana will be doing some seminars as well. And Paul Talbot has told me that if you haven't been to a European convention, this is the one this year to be at. It's completely different vibes, he says, than what we're used to. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
Also, is Paul going to
Fantastic.
come over to it, or is he?
They said
I
that
mean,
they're probably not. The restrictions where they're at are kind of strong still. It's unpredictable. So.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely crazy. Again, as I was talking about earlier, like just catching up with everybody. I finally realized, like for years, you know, everyone complains about politics, right? And I'd be like, yeah, well, you know, everybody over there in Europe, you complain about politics. You don't go bankrupt if you go to the hospital for 3 days, you know. But during this COVID shit, like as it was going down, like some people over there were like, man, like they're still using fax machines and doctors have to sign things off in triplicate. And it's like that really old European, slow to like change-ish. I mean, obviously there's a lot of progressive people there. Anyways, it's rough to see how it's all going down. It feels like maybe Germany might even be getting a little bit of a squeeze again, but yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's tough. I've been talking to suppliers from all over the world, and it just varies so vastly. In Canada, they've been extended. In some areas, they're locked on until July 2nd. So they're literally just sitting around. You know, the restrictions in Australia have changed quite a bit too. Whereas before they had drones monitoring the people who were leaving their houses. You had a contact list, and there could only be 1 or 2 people. I don't know if you remember that interview Gabe last summer with Gia.
oh yeah.
Yeah. So they were talking about all different stories, but I think we're pretty lucky here in the United States to be in the position that we're at.
Yeah, for sure. We are getting a little bit more feedback in the chat room that you're a little bit hard to hear still. I mean, we're wrapping up at this point, but
Yeah, first episode. We'll
Yeah.
go back and rewatch and work out the kinks.
Sure.
perfect. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. Everyone talked about a lot of the events. Let me just get through my list here because that's actually what I've been doing for the last 2 days. I'm trying to get like everything in order, and I feel like next year's pretty much done. Okay, so yes, we have. Okay, there is going to be something in September between the 14th and the 17th. I'll be bringing all the cameras out to hyperspace. So I don't know if that's going to be like a reinventing members thing or what, but we'll be doing something special. October 1st to the 3rd is the Empire State Tattoo Convention in New York City. So this is Stefano is hosting with Richie and like the Ink Magazine crew, and that's I'm gonna be there like probably like the Thursday party and Friday. Then I'm going to Jiminy Peak to set it all up because Jiminy Peak is the 3rd to the 6th. And yeah, people are booking their rooms. It's there's no website or anything. There's I'm making one at some point. We have an awesome band that'll be playing, fucking legendary band that's gonna be playing. I try not to spend the budget on music when it's a tattoo event, but this is a BYOB, so it's okay to spend the money on the music. Okay, so that's October 3rd to the 6th. Yes, we have Brussels the 12th to the 14th of November. And the 2 days before that will be a trade show, again, vaccine pending and travel pending. There's going to be a Reinventing Live from the Red Tree / True Tubes facilities in February. That'll have a paint night and a seminar day, so stay tuned for that. Okay, you've heard it here first. April, it's the 12th to the 14th or 15th of April. It's the first Inspiring Tour, and it will be in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And it's going to basically be, like I said, like 3.5 days at a bed and breakfast in the mountains with Sean Barber and Nick Baxter, painting and tattooing. There's a limit of 5 students, and yeah, I think the tickets will be, relatively hefty. They're not going to be horrifying, but there'll only be 5. So that's happening April 12th to the 14th or 15th. Okay, May 20th to the 22nd, 2022 next year is Hell City, Columbus. As Jake said, it's a great show every year. Absolutely, you got to check it out. We don't really need to talk it up too much because it's all good. Everyone's going to go there. July 8th to the 10th is the Rock River Tattoo Art Expo. That's happening in the Chicago area. It's like an hour and change, maybe an hour and a half in Rockford, Illinois. The venue is on the river, so there's the windows are out on the river, so it's like natural light, beautiful. It's great. Guy's going to be doing a reinventing track. There's a what do you call one of those things? It looks like a lecture hall. There's a lecture hall there. So it'll be fun. Let's see, July 29th to the 31st, Rubber City Tattoo International, Akron, Ohio. August 26th to the 28th, Hell City, Phoenix. October 20th to the 23rd, Paradise Tattoo Gathering, Jiminy Peak. That means that my next year is pretty much booked. I've got like two months, and I have a family, so that's that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, lots happening. So that's happening here. The world is coming back, it seems like. So it's exciting.
Fun. Yeah. So in a normal show, we would have a user-submitted video or some segment. We are now officially on 1 hour and 8 minutes. So. Well,
I think for a pilot, this was pretty solid. I appreciate the 4 or 5 people that kind of stuck with us, and any feedback would be awesome. I'm sure we'll clean it up. Our goal is really to make this, I think, more of a kind of a clean and produced a little bit of a news segment. Well, that's a looser news segment. So like anything, we'll tighten it up as we go.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Total we had over 50 people watching. Like you were saying, about 5 people at a time, and yeah. We do need to figure out our destination points. We only had that. We couldn't do our normal thing, but yeah, cool.
Great.
So what are we doing? Or are we gonna do is it like Sunday at 9 Eastern the right time?
Eastern.
Like Lauren, you can't really do 7 days a week for very long.
Hey, I'm all good with it. Like I said,
Okay. Well, if we get our clips in by Friday or whatever, if we get just a little bit ahead of it, then that would be cool.
Goes smoother, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys. And
Great.
I think that there's lots of stuff that we can cover. If you can hear me, lots of different topics we can cover week to week or stories we can follow. Just like, you know, all sorts of stuff are happening every time you turn around. We do have your drug critique coming up on Tuesday, which I'm excited for.
Yes,
yeah,
and we're not. Oh no. Drunk critique is being postponed.
Oh, drunk critique. Okay, so
Bob's
still
got a
have time
tattoo to do. I'm teaching. Actually, you know what's pretty cool? I've been working with this organization, Defy, and they work with inmates. You know Defy? So they work with inmates that are entrepreneurial in nature, and so it's like teaching business classes to people that are getting out and shit, which is I'm pretty excited. Anyways, so that's Tuesday for me. So the drunk critique and I think Tommy's getting locked down again. So our Tuesday schedule is getting a little tweaked. You heard it here first.
That's why you want to be on the weekly,
Kirsten
the Tattoo Weekly.
Yeah, Kirsten is going to be doing the apprenticeship stuff on Tuesday morning, and a lot of other cool events that we have coming up.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we will
We're
catch
gonna
up
be
with
out-
everybody in the future. I suppose this would be the time where we have we could have like our thank you credits roll in the future.
Yeah. Closing
But for
credits,
now,
exactly.
we'll thank everybody.
Thanks. All right.
All right, thank
You guys have a good night. We'll see you
Cheers.
bright and early tomorrow morning for the drawing group. 8.
Yes.